Mm, 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 mm. All right, all right. With that being said, everybody, welcome aboard. If you don't know, now you do know. You're officially tuned in to a very special edition of the HFWB Podcast Series. This is your host, Clifton Pope. And before I bring my current guest who's about to be on this particular episode of the HFWB Podcast Series, two things real quick. First and foremost, of course, this episode is being brought to you by goandfeelgreat.com, where we're trying to help people feel great for the long haul thanks to the company Unicity. And at the same time, there are two products, the Unicity Unimate and the Unicity Balance, to help create that time-based eating pattern balance to help overall get yourself on track for the long haul for better overall health. Visit goandfeelgreat.com. That's number one. Number two, also visit athleticism.com, to where you can also unlock the secrets to overall human performance. You will not be disappointed when you do that as well. But the person who I want to bring on to the episode of the HFWB podcast series, when it comes to the HFWB podcast series, for everyone listening who knows me very well, it's all about connecting with the right like-minded individuals who share kind of the same ideas, values, and beliefs, and who's kind of been there and done that as far as moving and shaking across the community. Those are the type of people who I bring on to the HFWB podcast series. The person who I'm about to bring on, she's been pretty much just moving and shaking as well as anyone, if anything, because the person who I'm about to bring on, she's not only a business coach, she's not only a CPA, she not only has her own coaching company called Coach.me, which we're going to get into, she's also so involved within the University of Texas A&M Corpus Christi. For those who know, listening here in Corpus Christi, Texas, she's the founder of Shaka Up Sports NIL Collective, which we had a great conversation about when we first originally met. And for those who don't notice, she does have a little bit of an extreme side as well. She's also the founder and captain of her own motor racing motorcycle team, which just blew my mind within itself. If you don't know who I'm talking about by now, I would love to welcome the lovely Miss Kendra Kinnison to the HFWB podcast series. Kendra, how are you doing on this Feel Good Friday?
I'm great. I'm great, Clifton. Thank you for that awesome introduction. Excited to be here.
No, I've been looking forward to this. Thank you for making time out of your busy schedule, because I kid you not, for everybody who's listening to this particular episode, when I talk about movers and shakers, Kendra basically symbolized that to the core. So I'm just truly grateful that she just made time out of her busy schedule just to be a part of the experience of the HFWB podcast series. For everyone who's listening, Kendra, who wants to know who you are, how you came up, not only just up the corporate ladder, because a lot of people don't realize how involved you are in the corporate world from your previous experiences, but from a particular standpoint, as far as just from a leadership standpoint, it's like leadership, you symbolize that to the T based off of everything you've done and everything we've talked about when we previously met. Kind of paint the picture for those listening as far as your overall background, your upbringing, and what led you into the position as you are, as far as just being involved in the business world, the corporate world, and at the same time wanting to become a coach within that, to paint the picture for those who can understand it better.
That's an interesting place to start. I think leadership is a good word. It's something that I think of it as a verb, right? I think of it as a choice that we make every single day
It's like
to
action, taking it.
yes,
Yeah.
to think like I don't think it's a title that you get and keep. I think it's a kind of a choice every day, every situation. Do you approach the situation with the mindset of a leader? And I
Mhm.
think that just means, do you think about your impacts beyond yourself, and do you strive to have positive impacts, on anybody who might be impacted by your decisions and your actions or your words. Um,
Right.
and where did that come from? It's tough to say. I can think of different chapters, um, oftentimes from the struggles, right?
Mhm.
Are where we learn the biggest lessons, or the experiences that didn't go the way we thought. that you learn a lot from. But you know, I grew up young. My family, and I'm going to say I'm thankful for it, and that may sound odd to some people, but I'm thankful for the journey that I've had, the good, the bad, and the
Right.
ugly, because I think it shapes who I am, and I'm happy
Yes.
with the person that I am. But my family, you know, all different angles of it, you know, faced a lot of challenges even from when I was a young kiddo, and so I think I was aware. I didn't have the words for it, but I think I was aware of when leadership was lacking in an environment, whether that was a family environment or a school environment, a basketball team environment,
Mm-hmm.
or eventually a workplace environment, you know,
Right.
to realize that, again, not that the title didn't exist, certainly it always did, but did the behaviors exist? Was there somebody, you know, when we're young, we'd like to think that there's somebody above us that's showing up and demonstrating and modeling what leadership looks like. And I had periods where people absolutely did that, and I saw the benefits of it. And I had periods where that was absent for a variety of reasons,
Right.
and I experienced that. And I think it did leave a lasting impression, and what a difference that can make. And as often as possible, you know, I think I try to close that gap for certainly the people closest to me, my own daughter and granddaughters, but um, even a few concentric circles beyond that of teams and friends and kids of friends, and you know, perhaps even doing podcasts like this fit into that framework of just, you know, telling our stories, because I think I
Yeah.
learned from people telling me stories. And
Yeah.
so you know, if us telling a story helps somebody else see a path forward, then I'm all about that.
No, I love all the points that you brought up because you bring up something interesting as far as like the behavior aspect, because it's kind of like, you know, from a parent and child relationship, so to speak. You know, the child watches the parent's behavior and they eventually pick up on the things, good and bad, what the parent does as far as based on their overall behaviors. And I feel like that is a major key as far as just looking for someone you could look up to, as far as like from a mentorship aspect, just as far as someone you can go to, as far as like you alluded to, Kendra, to hear those stories as far as their experiences based off of what you're trying to search for within them, based off of what they went through, and then hoping that you pick up those nuggets and those gems of information that you can take with you to allow you to grow and find that little bit room of improvement, just to get better and just to become a better version of yourself. I know you mentioned, Kendra, there was like different phases of your life where people were kind of like a mentor to you. They were kind of not there. Is there anybody in particular that stands out to you, Kendra, as far as who helped shape you into who you are today? Is there anyone in particular that stands out who
Sure,
kind of gave you the
sure.
most guidance?
Yeah, there's a few. And I would have to start with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Although when we're young, women in particular, I don't think we always give our our parents full credit. And my mom was really sick
Mm-hmm.
from when I was 10 to about 25,
Right.
which was hard. But um, I realize now that my mom laid the groundwork in values in me and in our family from a very young age, that, again, I didn't have words for, and I didn't even realize we were different, right? I didn't realize
Mm-hmm.
our family had different values than perhaps other families of the time. So our family was very diverse from as far back as I can, diverse in all the ways you can define diversity, but including the most obvious ones. And so, um, frankly, it wasn't until I was middle of my teens that I even realized racism existed, because in my bubble of the world, it was in a history book, you know, and it
Yeah.
wasn't until I moved to small town East Texas that I had a whole just
Yeah.
a whole experience that
Right.
I never would have had. And so my mom, I credit mom with just living. She didn't really talk about it, but
Hmm.
she lived, and the people that had dinner with us, the friends that we had, the people that just were an integral part of our lives were from, from all walks of life. And I joke, I sometimes say she was a social justice warrior before we even knew there was a term for that,
It's like she was ahead of her time,
Yeah,
so to
she was
speak,
very
Kendra.
ahead of
She
her time.
knew
She was
about
very
like
ahead of her time, and
everything that was concealed and stuff.
I had to be older before I put all those pieces together. And her being sick was challenging during that time. It was. I had to grow up fast, but it's okay. We have a wonderful relationship now, and I totally admire the way she's dealt with chronic illness. She's
Mm,
probably the healthiest. She walks every day. She wears her Aura ring, and she's rocking it. She's living the best life, and I have a ton of respect for that. My sister Jessica, just the most resilient person I know. Super,
mhm,
super proud of her, and I've learned a lot from her, and got to see her just this last weekend. TJ and Elizabeth, the two CPAs, they hired me. I think I was 16.
mm.
And
Give
to
you
hire
that
me in
early
your
start and give you that
yeah,
early advantage. Yeah.
yeah, to let me get started. I had a
Mm,
couple accounting teachers, Miss Snell in Ladonia, Texas, and Miss Baker in Greenville, Texas, that
mm.
were bright lights in a otherwise dark, dark world. Those years were tough.
Yes.
A lot of folks at the university, I think the folks that impact us really early or in those formative years, perhaps my dad was an entrepreneur again before I even knew that
That
word.
was even possible.
Yeah, yellow pad. Dad never went anywhere without a yellow pad and a pen and his tools, and taught me to always be prepared, right, and to take
Mm,
notes and to think, and
yes.
to not, kind of both of my parents, I think, and I don't know if they were actively teaching me this or if it just happened, but to
Mhm.
to not just follow sort of the masses, right? To pause and make an intentional decision.
Yeah.
Um, and I look back now, and I'm, again, it wasn't always smooth. In fact, it was almost
Right.
never smooth. There was a lot of
Right. Of
bumps,
course. Yeah. Of
a lot
course.
of
No
bumps, but
obstacles.
but those bumps had lessons, and a great group of friends now that I learned from. My friend Pat Bell Burnett, um,
Mm.
that I think you may know Pat, back in Corpus, but we've been friends for a couple of decades now,
I
and
love
I
this.
learned something with every conversation.
I love this. It's like this is like a special moment right here, Kendra, because I feel like you were just giving shout outs and at the same time giving flowers to the people who helped pave the way and give you a little bit of guidance as far as telling you in a way almost where to go, where to be at the right moment and right time. And it's like it helped shape you into who you are just as you're an overall, not only of course just being involved in your having your own business, but just understanding the principles of business, understanding the principles of entrepreneurship, understanding the principles of the corporate world. And at the same time, most importantly, Kendra, from what I'm getting out of ever since we've started having these conversations, understanding the importance of just the principles of leadership. And it's like it speaks into everything that you currently do. It's like you're literally just have become like a coach in a way in due time based off of your experiences with the CPA work, based off of just, starting like your own coaching company called Coach Me, to where it's like you're helping people discover that habit magic that you kind of discovered throughout the course of your journey based off of all the people who influenced you, to where you're showing that it helped change your life and you're trying to paint the picture on doing the exact same thing. Kind of talk about Coach Me, because whenever I saw it, I thought it was pretty interesting as far as just, helping people just in a little bit of time, just 5 minutes a day, as you say, as far as just to experience the power of those keystone habits, just to make that positive change. Because when I saw that, Kendra, it kind of struck something within me, because it kind of allowed me to relate to something, and as far as what I'm going through within myself, and at the same time trying to explain others to do the same thing, is that habits are a very, very critical component of your life. It's like the habits that you set in stone, the routines that you have in place, that schedule, that organization, that to-do list, that alone can not only create change in your life, but provide the necessary structure to create, like you say, that positive change. Kind of elaborate on that a little bit more, Kendra, because I kind of find that fascinating, because I feel like that kind of ties into who you are just as an overall person based on the conversations we've had thus far.
Yeah, I would say I fell down the habit rabbit hole, my late
Right.
20s, early 30s, um, and whether you call it magic, whether you call it human superpower, whatever, I do think habits are incredibly powerful. I think it's almost like the operating system of humans,
Hmm.
is habits. And when we go buy software or we go buy something, we get a little book, right? But there's no book
Hmm.
for humans that says here's how to operate ourselves. But I think by being intentional with designing our habits, um, and with a few other things too, but being intentional about designing our habits, we can really craft a life that we enjoy and show up. Again, if our goal is to be a leader, then you can work on the habits of being a leader, whatever your goal might be.
Hmm.
Um, so I discovered Coach.me. I didn't start Coach.me.
Yeah, of course.
Interesting story, but I discovered it early 2010s. It was a venture founded company. Folks like uh, Tim Ferriss, the Getting Things Done guy, Ev Williams, they were
I
all
love Tim
investors in the
Ferriss.
company. It's a habit tracker, is what it started out as, and
Hmm.
then added coaching. And I was one of the first
Hmm.
coaches on the
You helped
platform.
you helped kick down the door, Kendra, to what it is today. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, and so that started in 2012, and I coached a lot, over 1,500, probably now closer to 2,000 people, which is a lot of folks, and you see a lot of trends right in that, and constantly reading and researching and learning, and so this has been a sort of a research project of mine for
Mm,
over 20 years,
right.
um, and then the opportunity came to buy the platform late last year, and
Okay.
so I do own it now, which is a whole different thing. Introduces a whole, got to be good at a whole new variety
You got to
of
understand how to
things.
put systems in place now.
Yeah, no, the tech side, to own
Yeah, the
a
ins
fully
and
tech
outs and everything.
company is its own interesting adventure. But it's been great.
That's
We had
good. That's good.
we'd had a problem with our Android app for like 5 years, and I think we just got it fixed last week, which is really exciting. So, good stuff is happening. But I do believe in coaching. I think coaching enriches the lives of coaches, right? So people,
Mm,
you're working your day job, right? Whatever it might be. I think there's probably things that you're gifted in that you could coach in. And our platform allows people to do coaching alongside sort of their day job or their other areas of life. It makes it really easy for coaches to do that. And
mhm.
then for clients, our main habit package is $87 a month, very affordable, to work. And we have lots of folks all around the world, that are able to tap into coaches all around the world and make that connection and start one by one to craft the habits to have the life um, that you're seeking, and to make changes from time to time when you need to. I talk about my mom. She probably started a decade ago, just layer by layer, and she had some serious health issues to navigate. And if you met her now, you might not even know that, because she's been so intentional in crafting her habits. And tons of folks that I know and have worked with have done the same. And so I do believe in the power of coaching.
Mhm.
I think it's one of those foundational, just like we need to sleep, just like we need to exercise, just like we need to read, and just like we need to be in fellowship with folks, I think we need to have coaches
I love
to
it.
be the fully alive and best versions of ourselves.
And you know what? I feel like your program alone, ironically enough, it fits into something you're already kind of tied into already, which is the overall student athlete experience. Because I feel like it gives like kind of like a program for like, coaches, and that could serve in that mentorship form to help them create like such wonderful experiences and unforgettable moments while they're going through the process of really just trying to establish themselves in life through the university programs and stuff. And I wanted to kind of bring this up in particular for everyone listening to the HFWB podcast series. I think it's incredible. A lot of people don't know this, but you were part of the founding and the discovery process of Shaka Up Sports NIL Collective here in Corpus Christi, Texas, at Texas A&M University, Corpus Christi, for those who are listening all across the world. Kind of explain how that came together and how you feel that will definitely help improve the student athlete experience, because that's kind of like a big thing right now, just in college sports and the NCAA system itself, is the NIL, is how is that going to affect, the recruiting process? You got things with the transfer portal, you got people who are used to like how the system used to be, kind of being resistant to the new system that's kind of growing and expanding with the NIL and everything. And I feel like it was long overdue, Kendra, as far as just giving like those student athletes the opportunity to at least make some sort of profit based off of the sport that they're doing, based off their skill, gift, and talent, because it's an everyday struggle. It's like they're literally making $1 out of 15 cents just to be able to survive within like their dorm rooms and stuff like that. And most people don't understand that. So how will this benefit going forward in your eyes, Kendra?
Yeah, there's two things I want to share. I want to share the origin story of how it came to be, but
Yeah,
I do want to and we can debate whether NIL is good or bad, and certainly there's
yeah,
aspects of it that
that's never
I
ending.
think are problematic and need to be sorted out. But it's here,
Exactly.
right? It's
Yep.
here. It exists.
Yep.
Our university has to navigate it. We can't ignore it.
Right.
Um,
Without a doubt.
and I think the thing that stands out to me as the biggest victory perhaps isn't the money at all. Although certainly I agree with you in rewarding these student athletes for their incredible hard work. But
Yes.
the thing that NIL opened up was our ability to connect with student athletes off the court. Prior to NIL, I couldn't go have dinner with Lacey Westbrook. I couldn't pay for her dinner and go have dinner
Mhm.
with Lacey and just get to
Yeah.
know her as a person,
Right.
maybe connect her to other women that could pour into her life. You couldn't do that. It was illegal, an illegal act as a booster. It risked
Yeah.
um, her eligibility. It risked all
Wasn't
kinds of
benefiting the university at that time. Yeah.
Right, right. And so
Right.
I think the biggest win of NIL is letting athletes be human and do the things that any normal, and we talked about mentorship and all that. I mean, they were prevented with connecting with the people that could
Help.
benefit them most. And so that's the part of NIL that I think is the biggest victory, is opening that up. And I
Mhm.
speak about Lacey because so I'll tell you the origin story, but Lacey's, we're all proud of Lacey, and I think she demonstrates how this can be a win-win when
Mhm.
everybody looks at it from the perspective of being a leader. She's the definition of a leader in my mind. But
Mm.
the men's team made the game in Dayton 2023. Yeah, was it
Mhm.
2023? I
Yeah.
think it was. I may be off a year. They all kind of start to run together. But I want to, yes, March 2023,
Yep.
men's basketball team does a play-in game in Dayton, Ohio for the second
Yep.
year in a row.
Right.
Um, and we're staying at the team hotel. Dayton is first for that whole city is basketball. and you
Oh yeah,
can't help but
very
hear about.
passionate fan base,
Yeah,
very loyal to the
you can't help
sport.
but hear about NIL. We all got a boot
Right.
camp. There are a handful of us went on that trip. You pay your own way, but you are embedded with the team. And it's a great experience. And we all began to hear this NIL, and then we won. And so the journey continued, and we go from Dayton, Ohio to Birmingham, Alabama, same group. Now we've got a few more days, and we're continuing our education and our research on NIL. And we came home from that trip that we lost to top ranked Alabama that year, but
Right.
learned a lot. Came home from that
Yeah.
trip and immediately formed a collective. This group of alum and boosters, just to facilitate, to learn and facilitate, and to play a role in what we could do. We were late. We were kind of late to the party, so to speak. Lisi was the only major athlete that we signed that stayed, and of course she got her own reward. Took the women's team to the NCAA tournament for the first time. Got to go play at USC. Won Southland Conference. Just and I think really
It worked out.
demonstrated. Yeah,
That's a
demonstrated.
perfect definition, Lisa, of a minor setback for a major comeback. You took that experience from Dayton with the men's team, utilized it to, of course, empower the women, and at the same time, the women athlete to be, of course, like the face of this NIL collective. And then, Lord behold, next thing you know, winning the Southland Conference tournament, going on to the NCAA tournament. It's literally the perfect picture for those who are listening to this particular episode for a minor setback for leading to a major comeback. And it just goes to show you just have to stay strong and just stay the course, and you'd be surprised on what you can make out of anything within yourself. And before you know it, you'll lead your way to your own version of success, and within that become like your own leader to where people will eventually follow everything that you're currently doing, which leads to me asking you this, Lisa, Kendra, for anyone who's listening to this particular episode of the HFWB podcast series and who's looking for like key pieces of advice on what would make them an effective leader for themselves, what would you tell them, Kendra?
Yeah, it's interesting where to begin. I think sometimes the one or two things that um, if you adjusted them differently, you could show up more authentically or more healthfully as the person you want to be. So
Right.
sometimes we know exactly what we need to do, and it's just having the courage to be consistent and to be weird.
Yep.
In that,
That's
sometimes it's literally that. Um, but I think, really the basics. Are you sleeping enough? Are you getting a reasonable amount of exercise? Just go for a walk, right? What kind of foods are you putting into your body? There's
Yep.
a whole lot that can be there. Do you have a plan for the day, right? Take 15, 20 minutes every day, map out your calendar and decide how you want your day to go. And then at the end of the day, pause and ask yourself some questions. What went well today? What didn't go well today? What do
I
I
love
want to adjust based on what didn't go well today, right?
it.
Relatively simple things. And then usually if we'll do that process, a few days or a few weeks, the next layers of the staircase start to unravel, right? We don't see the whole journey right out of the gate.
Yeah.
But you start taking a few steps, you may need to change the environments that you're in. You may need to change what you're consuming,
Mhm.
our TV shows, our songs, the people, the conversations that we're having, the books that we're reading.
Yep.
What are we feeding ourselves, right, in that? So you may notice that you want to change that,
Mhm.
right, to dial that in, to be more focused on the goals that you have. And it can be different for every single one of us. I don't think there's an exact recipe for every person, but there are
Yeah.
elements that I think if folks will introduce those elements, but oftentimes you got to do the physical first to even make room for the mental, right? Because if you feel
Yeah.
awful, it's hard. It's really hard to think your way into a new way of acting. But if you act, we can change our thinking, right? Go to bed early and go for a walk. There's few nights that if I'm feeling yucky or down or whatever, that if I'll just, watch something positive or listen to something positive, go to bed early, get up early, go for a walk, get hydrated, that the situation doesn't feel a whole lot
Yeah.
easier just by those few things.
No, and you pretty much just touched on all the core principles of what I've been trying to tell people through my own business, health, fitness, wealth business for the last 3 years. And you touched on the first three things as far as like what my dad used to tell me all the time. And you'd alluded to them, Kendra, as far as exercise, getting an adequate amount of sleep, and most importantly, eating right, on top of just really just coming down to three things based off of everything you just said, Kendra. Just self-care, finding that time throughout the day to, of course, dedicate time towards taking care of yourself, self-discovery, discovering yourself, as far as literally saving yourself with, moment of silence, affirmations, visualizations, as we've been talking about, exercising, reading, writing. Savers methods, very, very powerful. I will definitely allude to that. And most importantly, all those things, Kendra, it allows you to establish a theme for yourself and improve your overall self-esteem. So I feel like you painted a wonderful picture in all of those things exactly, which it leads me to now going into the point of the podcast now, Kendra, where I'm going to basically ask you a list of questions that I ask everybody who come on to the podcast. And this is like a perfect segue to the first question I'm about to ask. What is the first thing you do or think of every single day that you wake up?
I try hard to make it mobility. And I'm successful probably 80-85% of the time.
No, you really are. You're very consistent.
I'm not successful every day, but I'm not a spring chicken anymore. And 5,
Yeah.
10, 15 minutes of mobility dramatically changes, and that silence too, right? I think mobility and mindset,
Yeah. Moment of silence.
go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Just that quiet time to connect with our bodies, see how we're really feeling, get loosened up. So I try very hard to start with that. Something that I've changed recently is I cook myself breakfast, and people that have known me prior to the last 6 months are probably going to find this really funny, because I used to be known for like literally not cooking anything. But I cook a warm breakfast almost every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned to really enjoy, when I you talk about tuning into yourself, I realized I'm a morning person. I the late night hours, I don't get much out of them. I don't enjoy them. I'm not saying never, but in general, unless it's a special event, I don't. Not much good happens for me late night. I just, my brain doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work. I don't feel good. But
Right.
early in the morning, that's my time. I'm
Mm.
on. I feel great, and so I've almost flipped my leisure in some ways to, or my time, to put it first, right? To do it in the morning. And so part of that is cooking now. And if you'd have asked me before, I would have never dreamed that I would do that. But it's something I really enjoy, and it gets my nutrition dialed in early in the day. And some people fast in the mornings. If I'm going to fast, I eat an early dinner or skip dinner and fast in the evenings, right? I just
Mhm.
I'm a morning. The more I can cram into my morning, the better I'm going to be. And so I lean into that fully now. And it's interesting how your friend group, people either respect that or they don't, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you figure out who your closest friends are based on some of those filters. But
You're
that's
creating you're creating those habits that millionaires and billionaires have, Kendra, which is getting the day started as early as possible, and that sets the tone for a very productive day. And it leads you on a path towards more success, but at the same time, you're never forgetting about your health, which is a perfect segue to my next question. Of course, you've heard this before, Kendra. Health is wealth. You can't have one without the other. In your eyes, Kendra, what is your personal definition of health and wealth for yourself?
Hmm. um I think for wealth it's just to be able to take care of the people that I care about. I really believe in building businesses.
Yep.
That's it's just core to who I am. I'll blame my dad for that. And so I enjoy building businesses that provide opportunity for myself and also for others. And so I think that there's no number. I don't have a magic number. That just doesn't even really resonate with me. But I think building businesses that create opportunities and serve people in positive ways, I think that's wealth to me. Health, I think it's strength. I think it's flexibility. I think it's can you face the challenges? Can you handle the challenges that you're faced with? Right? We've got
Right.
a new hurricane churning in the Gulf, and even for those of us that are kind of preppers, there's probably still a few supplies that we need. Right? Can you carry that case of bottled water and put it on your shelf? Can you do the things that you need to do to live a quality life? Can you pick up your grandkids and play with them? Can you get down on the floor and play with your family? I think it's the functional things. I don't have any specific, weight or any of that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. None of that really resonates. Can I ride a motorcycle in the way that I want to ride? You know,
Hmm.
um, it's can I do the things that I want to do?
Right. I definitely agree with that 100%. Now, for my next question, when you think of community, Kendra, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Because for those who are listening here in Corpus Christi, Texas, know this, but for those who are listening all across the world, Kendra, in my eyes, is like a definition of a community leader, especially with all the board of directors that she serves on for like Rally Credit Union, the Central Motorcycle Road Racing Association, Leadership Corpus Christi, very popular here in Corpus Christi, Texas, for those listening all across the world. What does community mean to you? What is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear community, Kendra?
I think it can be broad. I mean, I think it's working together for goals that benefit a broad group of folks, right? So I think the university does that. I think Leadership Corpus Christi does that. I think Rally, does a phenomenal job at serving. And so over the years, I have served on probably a couple dozen boards, over the
Right.
last 20 something years. But I think the ones that I'm active in now, all have that theme of making a way for others, right? They have that theme of service, and I think that's just what fires me up these days. But there's lots of fabulous boards and organizations, and I think folks should plug into where they're interested.
I love it. Next set of questions, Kendra, it's going to be kind of like an either or thing. So you'll basically just pick one out of the other. First one is loyalty or respect.
Ooh, loyalty to values.
Mm, love it. Would you rather live in space or live in the ocean?
Oh, ocean, easy.
Would you rather be famous and poor or anonymous and rich?
Ooh, I- you know, interesting. If famous means impactful, I don't think fame for the sake of fame matters, but
Yeah,
fame for the sake of impact. But if you can have an impact and be anonymous, I think it's impact to me
yeah.
that matters. You can be miserable in any of those situations,
I can relate
but
to
I
that.
but I think impact is what resonates with me.
Interesting answer, and we'll definitely go with the flow on that. I could see that. Would you rather have unlimited free meals at your favorite restaurant or unlimited first class tickets?
Oh, airfare. I don't know that I have a favorite restaurant anymore.
Would you rather dance to every song or sing to every song?
Dance. I can't sing. I can't really dance either, but I figure I could learn to dance better than I could learn to sing.
Got it. Picture yourself on a stranded island, Kendra. You have nowhere to go, but you have the option to listen to five of your favorite music artists. It doesn't matter what genre it is, it could be their whole catalog of music. Who would those five music artists be?
Oh, I can answer you that question. You go through a hurricane and you take this challenge quite literally. So let me see. My morning Morning playlist. This is the playlist that got me through a pretty gnarly time of Harvey. I know it starts with Alicia Keys, "Girl on Fire," Mandisa, a lot of Mandisa, a
Okay.
lot of Imagine Dragons, a lot of The Roots,
Mm.
um, Macklemore, "Glorious." I like that song.
Mm.
So there you
Okay.
go. There's your flavor of, because I
Love
think I
it.
pretty much
Straight to the
lived. I
point.
think I
Gets
lived that scenario. So there
no,
you go.
it got you through the hard times. That's what it's all about. What is your favorite go-to meal, Kendra?
My favorite go-to meal.
Yes.
Okay, so I've learned I don't process carbs very well, so but I love toast, and so I make bread every morning.
Hmm.
I use flax meal, almond flour, a little bit of
Yeah.
baking powder, and an egg. You mix
Very
that up,
healthy.
put it in the
Love it.
microwave, toast it. It makes like a little toast.
Right.
So I eat that, and then usually 3 scrambled eggs with some cottage cheese built in, and then a little bit of regular cheese. I eat that probably every single day.
Fun fact for those who are listening to this episode of the HFWB podcast series and who follow Kendra on social media, that is literally her go-to breakfast every single day. You can't go wrong with that. My next question, Kendra, you mentioned you loved airfare. Where's the favorite place you've traveled to thus far, and where's a place you would like to travel to that you've never been to before?
I love visiting new places, or old places. I just I love experiencing culture and foods and that kind of thing. I'm headed to Japan hopefully next week, if the weather doesn't go crazy between now and then.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
excited about that.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
um, I've I haven't been to Europe at all yet. I've spent quite a bit of time in Asia and the Middle East.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
and a little bit of time in South America. Costa Rica was fabulous.
I could see that.
Yeah, it's yeah, I don't think if there's anywhere I don't love. I mean, it would kind of be a toss up.
It
But I
all
haven't
has
been.
its own special moment
Yeah,
to
I
you.
haven't been to Australia yet. That would be cool
Okay.
too.
Okay.
Variety of things.
I love it. I love it. Now, I could tell this is probably like a favorite hobby of yours as far as things you like to do that many people may not know you like to do. And I found this interesting, Kendra. You basically are the captain and almost part of a discovery of a motorcycle team, if I'm not mistaken correctly. Kind of tell the people about that because I found that to be very interesting hobby for someone like yourself.
Yeah, call it a midlife crisis, whatever you want. Before the summer before I turned 40, um, my daughter was grown. I waited till my daughter kind of graduated high school and got grown and decided I wanted to, adventure is something we talked about values. Adventure is definitely a value of mine. And if I don't have enough adventure in my life, I start to get a little grumpy. And so I kind of made a list of the different hobbies that I might want to try,
Mhm.
and motorcycle riding was on the list. I'd experienced it in the Philippines,
Oh,
and
wow. That's
I just thought
interesting.
it was really cool, and so and made some friends that happened to be motorcycle folks, and so I've taken tons of schools, and I don't ride on the streets all that much. I
Right.
do have
Right.
one street bike, but mostly on racetracks, closed racetracks, where you're not dealing with traffic and that
Yeah,
kind of
in a
thing.
controlled environment versus dealing with an environment that you can't control. I could see that.
But
I could
it's
see that.
folks think it's adrenaline. It's really the opposite of adrenaline. It's like meditation. You can't think of
Mm,
anything else. It's like forced meditation.
that's
It
what
is
most
not.
race car drivers say, and
Yeah,
people who
it's not
race
adrenaline
it.
at all.
Yeah,
If
it's
it
a
is,
calm
if it
and a
is, something's wrong.
zone
Yeah,
focus,
it's an exercise in breath work. It's an exercise in staying calm.
mental
It's an exercise in
gymnastics.
focus with your eyes and your
Right.
vision. I think it's is such great metaphors
I love it.
for life and leadership.
I love it, Kendra. Last question as we wrap everything up. Now, picture yourself going back in time 10 years ago and having the opportunity to talk to yourself then. what would you tell yourself? And at the same time, based on your current journey, Kendra, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
Oh, this is a personal one. I think it's when people show you who they are, believe them, and look for actions, not words. I think in a lot of situations, I see potential. It's which I think is fun and a gift, and really exciting to explore with folks. But you can't want more for somebody than they want for themselves, and so occasionally that has caused pain in my life. So throttling that just a little bit, I think, is the lesson that I'm working on going forward. I think it's leaning into my own preferences even more so, and
Right,
trusting that the people that love and appreciate me will love and appreciate me even if I go to bed at 9, right?
right, right,
Than trying to bend and be somebody that I'm not. So being willing to be me, sharing that, and it's okay if that's not a win for somebody, and we, I've just learned that I've got certain preferences, and when I honor them, I'm able to have more joy and energy and those kind of things. And so, letting that be a filter in my life and not being afraid to lose friends or to lose a situation, based on something that I've realized is important to me. I think there's a certain courage that comes with that age helps. When you're
right.
younger, I mean, some people have it. Some people have it really early. I look at the women's basketball team, even the men this year. Some of these young athletes, man, they've got some of this figured out, and I just happen to be closer to them. I'm sure the other sports do as well, but basketball was my first love, so I'm a bit biased. But some of these young people have figured it out a lot sooner. I think for my generation, we often tried to bend ourselves to serve others, and not that there's anything horrible about that, but I think as we get older, we realize that's less sustainable, and
Right.
often is asking us to compromise our health or our joy, and so you get willing to make that trade.
I love it. I love it. Where can people find you, Kendra, as far as to continue to follow your journey and continue to be inspired by everything you have going as far as your social media handles, websites, the whole nine yards, Kendra?
Probably KendraKinnison.com. I'm on a handful of social media channels, kind of exploring where that is, but I would say my website can link to most things from there.
I love it. I love it. Well, Kendra, I must say thank you so much for just making time out of your busy schedule once again to simply bless us with an appearance on the HFWB podcast series. I feel like not only myself, but many people who listen to the HFWB podcast series will benefit tremendously from this episode, just from how to become a better version of yourselves, which is what I encourage tremendously, which is what you encourage tremendously, Kendra. And for anyone listening, I hope y'all get that particular message as well going forward. Kendra, thank you again for just making time out of your day to bless us with an appearance on the HFWB podcast series. I enjoyed it tremendously.
This has been fun. Thank you, Clifton.
No, of course. And for everybody listening, once again, this is yours truly, Clifton Pope of the HFWB podcast series, encouraging everyone to stay healthy, wealthy, and blessed. Until next time, peace, love, and positive vibrations.